Good afternoon, everyone. It's time to call this special call board meeting of the San Felipe Del Rio CISD School Board of Trustees to order. The day being Thursday, November 21st, 2024. Mr. Secretary, would you call roll for us?
Yes, Mr. Mesa. Mrs. Luna Chavez.
Present.
Mr. Almaraz.
Present.
Mr. Overfelt.
I'm here.
Mr. Mesa.
Here.
Ms. Webb.
Present.
Ms. Haynes.
I'm here too.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members and that this meeting has been duly called and again posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. We'll go straight into business and finance. First, the only item that we have is item A, consideration to approve the comprehensive annual financial report for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. Amy Childress.
Good afternoon, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This afternoon, we have with us Mr. Michael Brotherton with our auditing firm of Crow LLC to provide us with our 2023-2024 audit.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
So there's really three documents that we provide this year. We have the annual financial report, which I'll cover in a minute here. Then there's two letters. We have our required communication letter. This almost reads like a checklist. It provides an overview of the operating results of the audit, includes some audit adjustments. If there was any issues, it would be noted on here as far as if specialists needed to be consulted, if there was scope limitations, any issues like that, it'd be noted here. Happy to report there weren't any. And then the other letter is your management letter. So with the management letter, we just had two minor comments this year that we would consider deficiencies or other matters. The first one, the district is aware of, it was just excess fund balance for the Child Nutrition Fund. TDA requires that if you have more than 3 months of excess fund balance, then you come up with a plan to draw that down. This is something that the district was aware of or has already submitted a plan, but we're still required to report it. The other comment is just related to following district policy. We came across a couple projects in which contracts couldn't be provided for. Those weren't grant-funded ones, so it's just a matter of following local policy. So those were the two comments we had. Once again, they were other matters, not a significant deficiency, not a material weakness. And then as far as the annual financial report, I'll touch on the financial highlights of this, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. So if you have the report in front of you, we'll start off by looking at the opinion letter. This is on page 2. This is also known as the independent auditor's report. At the very beginning is the opinion paragraph. This is where we state that we've issued a clean, unmodified opinion. That's us providing our assurance that the financials are free of any material misstatement and include all the required disclosures. So the district received a clean audit opinion. If you're not familiar with the annual financial report, the next section after that is your management discussion and analysis. This is a great place to start when you first get the report because it provides a narrative of the operating results for the year, provides a little bit of analysis, changes in assets, liabilities, revenue expenditures at both the government-wide level and the fund level. I'm going to jump ahead to page 14. We're going to look at your governmental funds. Let's start with your governmental funds balance sheet. The district ended the fiscal year with $62 million in total assets, had liabilities of just over $12 million, uncollected property taxes of just under $10 million. So that left you with the total fund balance of just over $40 million. As a general rule, your unassigned, unreserved fund balance, you want that to at least be 3 months or 25% of your annual expenditures. That can vary based on the governmental entity. That's just a general rule that we say. Currently, the district has $32.5 million in unassigned fund balance, which makes up 29% of annual expenditures. So the district's maintaining a healthy fund balance. If you look at your total fund balance of $40 million for the general fund, that makes up about 36% of your annual expenditures. Let's jump over to the income statement on page 16. Your first column for your general fund, about 3 rows up from the bottom, you can see that you had a use or decrease in your fund balance of about 1.4 million. So you started the fiscal year with 41.4 million, ended with just over 40 million. A little bit above that, you'll see a line for right-of-use assets. Within the last couple of years is when the lease standards came about, which required governmental entities to recognize long-term leases on the financials. So this year, the district had new copier leases. So based upon those calculations, over the term of the contract, the discounted value of those would be about 1.2 million. So that's the number that you see there for proceeds from right-of-use assets. That has no impact on your fund balance. That nets with capital outlay above. I think it's presented as a long-term liability on the front of the financials. If you look at your debt service fund, you had an increase to fund balance of about $450,000. And then your child nutrition fund, which is part of that third column, other non-major governmental funds, which is an aggregate of all your special revenue funds, your capital project fund. On page 61, you can see the individual funds listed there. But that had a decrease of fund balance of $23,000, so it ended the year with a fund balance of $2.4 million. If you're interested in seeing what the budget to actual results were, that's on page 57. And then for the pension and OPEB plans with TRS, those come just after that budget to actual schedule. If you're interested in what the funding levels were, the contributions by year, those are on the subsequent pages. So for example, on page 53, your first column is for 2023. You can see that the plan there, the last percentage number on the bottom, the plan was 73% funded statewide. So it's going to be the same for all districts. All districts report their proportionate share of this. But if you're interested in the funding levels of TRS over the years, that's where that gets presented. The schedule behind that, you can see what the contributions are amount for the district by year. And then basically the same schedules for the OPEB plan follow that. And then lastly, in the back of the financials is where we include our single audit report. And there were no issues with the single audit this year. Issued an unmodified opinion over those as well, and there's no audit findings to the report related to the major programs. This year we tested the child nutrition cluster and the 21st century grant. If you look on page 75, that provides a nice summary of the operating results for both the financial audit and then the federal awards single audit. If there were any findings or issues, it would be noted on that page. And then behind that is the listing of all the grants, your schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So you can see how much were incurred for each grant for the fiscal year. There were no new accounting pronouncements that impacted the reporting or presentation for the district this year, so the rest of the financials should look similar to past years, just updated for current year information. And I'd like to end the presentation by thanking Amy and Gilbert for their help this year and the rest of the finance and business office. With the switch to Crow this year, it functioned very much like a first-year audit. We had to build everything out again. It was different audit methodology, new eyes on the district's financials this year. So if you recall last year, we were Belt Harris Pahachek. We were acquired by Crow this year. Crow, they're a top 10 firm, both in the U.S. and internationally. So we're excited about that transition. It provides a lot more resources, more technology. I think it's going to be a benefit to our clients. So this was the first year that we conducted the audit under Crow, so using Crow methodology, Crow software, and so on. That concludes my presentation. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
First of all, I just want to say this is the most, I've been here quite a number of years. This is the most comprehensive audit report that I've seen in a number of years that I've been on the board.
Glad to hear.
And I do have a question before I pass it on to the other board members is normally, what is the percentage of taxes collected for school districts? We have a firm that does our delinquent taxes and so forth, and I'm always concerned with the numbers going down as appraisal values go up.
That'd really be a better question for your tax assessor. We essentially tie out to their reports and make sure everything's reported correctly. I know for local governments, typically, your collections are going to be low 90% and up.
Okay.
It'll vary based on
Good.
the makeup of that entity and all.
Yeah, that's what we normally shoot for, 90% or better. I'll turn it over to board members for questions. Done?
Thank you.
Dr. Rios?
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Just a comment on the taxes collected and the delinquent taxes collected. We asked our delinquent tax collector to make a presentation to the board over the taxes collected and delinquent tax collected over the last 10 years. That report should have been presented this past meeting, but we removed it from the agenda because they weren't able to make it. However, in the December board meeting, Mrs. Sonia Gonzalez will be here, and she will make that report of the percentage of taxes collected, the delinquent taxes collected over the last 10 years, and the percentage of those delinquent taxes collected, because that is a lot of money. So we look forward to that presentation. But from the audit, thank you.
Hey, I just want to say thank you again to the Finance Department. And once again, this is the most comprehensive report that I've received in a great number of years.
I have one more question.
Yes, Dr. Rios.
I know that 2-3 years ago, there had been some changes with the previous owners, and we have been told that maybe y'all would drop us as a customer, but then you continue with us, so we appreciate it. But with the new leadership in the organization, is there anything that we need to be concerned about, or are we good for the foreseeable future?
No, you're good. And previously there were no changes in ownership with Bell Harris. But no, we really appreciate the opportunity to serve the district and hope that we can continue to for a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Amy?
Can I read the recommendation?
Yes, no further questions? Mr. Alito?
Just real quick, again, thank y'all for the work that you put in for this audit, Amy and your entire staff. The only question I do have is on that deficiency of not having the two contracts. What exactly happened with that? Is that something that we do have now? Or can you just give us a little detail just on that?
Well, I know that there was, because of the wages, the federal wages, okay, there's a clause that needs to be in the contract where, we have to require that the contractors and subcontractors provide a certain wage, and that clause was not in the contracts.
Okay.
Beyond that, was there anything else absent in the contracts?
No, we just didn't have contracts with some of the construction vendors that we did, the contract that we did. And so we have, Mr. Chapa has drawn up a contract that he will have each construction vendor sign now that does have the required statements that are needed, and that has been put into effect.
That was the only item.
I appreciate that. That's all it was. Thank you, Amy, and your entire staff again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Recommendation, please.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the audit report for the 2023-2024 fiscal year as presented.
You've heard the recommendation. There's a motion by Mr. Alindo, seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. this concludes our meeting today. I want to thank all the board members for being here for this special call board meeting. Hope all of you have a great Thanksgiving. Okay. Thank you. We are adjourned.